Kolega Jovanović, telefonem možete slobodno da razmenite. Zahvaljujem se. So, thank you very much for your attention. If you can just, if I can just present our next presenter or lecture, it's my great pleasure to announce Goran Cvetković, who used to be the professional handball player on the top level, and who dedicated his career also to the coaching business, in handball of course, both in handball and both in fitness or physical preparation. And he is also bringing broad knowledge as a manager of the professional club. From the other side, it's also my pleasure to say that we are using this opportunity whenever we have some of you guys, participants, who are working on the top level handball that could deliver something from the topics of the great interest for all of us, that we use this lovely opportunity not only to promote the topics by itself, but also to promote all of you. And this is a kind of interaction that we are really counting on and really trying to get the best benefits from it. So Goran is one of you, and I'm really grateful that he was eager or ready to share his knowledge concerning the topics that he will present on this seminar. So, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for the nice presentation as well. Normally I live, or let's say I talk 4 languages at once in the life that I'm living in Switzerland. My wife is a Swiss, my kids are trying to be Serbian, my dogs are Italian, so yeah, depending on the situation I will try to use different languages. So I will start with one explanation, or let's say information about me even more precisely. So when we discuss business of a head coach or a coach or a person who is working in a club, many of us used to work only as a coaches. Many of us maybe used to work or actually work only as a part of an organization. It doesn't matter if it's a sport director or maybe a junior coach or maybe responsible for the junior development. And actually the whole career I was trying to create a situation where I can decide about everything in one club. It will be an ironic one, so also as a joke. I managed to achieve to meet the people in Winterthur who recognize that our sport doesn't have money. They have also recognized that not only that we don't have money, we usually don't have time, especially if we are coaches. And then if we have these 2 basic problems, which I wrote down here, money and time, then we start to ask ourselves, okay, is there any chance to make any kind of result? And then when it comes to results, we can discuss the results in a way that we will try to win everything what we can. Maybe we will discuss the results when it comes to the development of the players. And just for your information, or trying to introduce my club a little bit more, in 2019, like 6 years ago, we had a situation that our club almost went bankruptcy. So we had a debt around 1.5 million Swiss francs, and if you are living in Switzerland, since in my case it's 20 years, you will pretty much very early recognize that that land is not into handball that like the way we are, kind of, you know. So the handball is just a part of their life. If they're young people, they will maybe go to school or to work, maybe play handball, and when they reach or achieve some level of knowledge, skills, whatever it is, they will decide to quit with handball. So knowing that one, having the club with huge history, we came to the situation that we almost closed the club. So we almost closed the club. So what does it mean? We also sent like the juniors to the street to sell some cookies in order to find the money for the club. It was really crazy situation, and that was actually the 4th year after I finished my career as a player, and at that time I was only participating as a sport director of the club in the board of the club. So, At the same time, knowing that finding 1.5 million won't be that easy, we have started to think about next strategies that we need to implement in order to avoid that situation maybe some other time. So what does it mean? I'm trying to come to the basic title of my presentation today. So I'm the guy who grew up in Belgrade, and the coach that infected me with handball doesn't live anymore. Unfortunately, that was Igor Bakoc. And back then in 90s, as a young guy watching sports, I had some idols, like many of people at my age or generation. It was like Michael Jordan. So you were trying to reach these highest goals of sport when it comes to efficiency of movement and skills, being able to bring them to the court, and then with these skills maybe even to win some kind of titles. So it started back then with analyzing the sport in a way that you have different principles of the sports. So you would say, okay, nowadays we talk a lot about nutrition, then we talk about mental health, then we talk about strength and conditioning, we are talking about tactical skills. We had a great presentation just before when it comes to the smallest details, when it comes to tactical decision making of the wing player or whatever. Then we discussed timeout and all that stuff. And that's all good, but let's say in this room, every single person has a different opinion about the tactical skills and also how they would act and react on the mental and all these kind of skills that are also needed in handball. But me as a guy who learned the handball from a guy who was actually, in my opinion, a genius, I was always dreaming about a handball play where every single player on the field would be able to play every single position. So the goalkeeper could be able, when it comes to his skills, to be a player, and also the player would be able to be a goalkeeper. And so going through the positions, all the guys are able to play every single position. So if we would idolize this kind of world and have the people being able to play every single position in the most perfect, precise way, maybe someday we will reach the level of NBA, National Basketball Association League, blah, 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 in USA. So I was trying to dream about perfect handball player who is able to play everything, and then going back to the handball skills, I would start with basic genetical and anatomical given sources of chances to develop any kind of skill. Then, during the period of training some specific sport, in our case handball, we would obviously at one point of time come to some specific limitations when it comes to movement. I will use this word a lot of times today. So what does it mean? I could even remember situations where we tried to play handball with both hands, or the whole team was playing in another hand just to try to understand the perspective of playing handball with another skills. But then we all, or almost everyone, realized, and that was your input today when it comes to playing to the strong side, we have realized that we will have some limitations when it comes to a movement. So the people who are interested in the human body and maybe also work in that industry, they will then start to discuss all kind of anatomical, biomechanical, biological, physiological, blah, 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 industries and scientists, and they would say, in this reason, for that purpose, I will probably be able to walk like that. I'm coming back to 2019, so Fadi almost got bankruptcy. We had a lot of strategic meetings when it comes to how can we revive this club, being able to fight for the first place, or at least to fight, or at least to be a part of the top teams in Switzerland, with way less money. So then we come again to the point of money and time, and obviously as a big club, you cannot allow yourself to play like 10 years second division or try to grow up again because, let's say, the legacy is just too big for us from interview. So what we said, let's start to analyze the handball sport, and let's start to search for the parts of the handball game where we can put a lot of influence, or let's say even enough influence when it comes to the development of the player, in order to, in the perfect world, have the complete first team with 16 players grew up at Fadi.
So what we have decided to make some investments in this part, which is strength and conditioning, or let's say athletic development of a handball player. So what did we actually do? We said we have to define long-term development goals. We have to put them in a relation with the short-term goals in a way that we won't bother the short one, trying to develop the long ones, and in the best case create almost every season from every generation the players who are ready to play at the highest level. The youngsters under 13 at the highest level under 13, then under 15, 17, 19, National League B and National League A. Then, if you're living in Switzerland, it works like this. You will wake up, you will go to work or school, you will maybe train, you will go home, and you will wake up next day, and in that way 50 years, and probably with 75 you will buy a flat in Mallorca, and then you will live over there. So it's pretty much a boring life when we compare it to our countries. So when you know that one, then you actually know that you have to make a compromise about the daily living of every single player, no matter how old. That's why we also started to think about adaptive training and the recovery strategies. Then in the next step, we said, okay, we have some considerations in modern handball, and I know, a lot of you are handball coaches who don't have that much infrastructure possibilities, connection to the science, all this kind of stuff. We have in Winterthur, we have built a little sport town. We have a training hall. We are building the second one. Playing hall. We are building the training hall. We have a medical institute. We have a strength and conditioning institute. We have 2 sports schools. We have track and field stadium. We have every single thing that every club would imagine or would like to have. So in that way, let's say we are in a better case. So having all this kind of infrastructure and possibilities that we can integrate to the development of the young player, we said, is it really the best way to develop the player if the head coach, no matter of which age, would do technical skills, tactical skills, strength and conditioning, all this kind of all in one coaches, in my opinion, in the opinion of our club, are not the best ways. If we break it down to just a simple, stupid discussion that we were leading here, every single trainer or coach or whatever would like to have physio, goalkeeper coach, strength and conditioning coach, and so on. So why wouldn't we have it in every single team in our club? That was our first idea. And then, in order to integrate this kind of development for the players, we had to set the culture of the club or to define it to every single person in the club. So it doesn't matter if it's a guy who is preparing the hall for the game or it's under 11 player at Fadi. He has some rules, and we call it DNA, which he will follow in any occasion, in any situation. That means we create high performance culture, which means there is a theory about how would you like to live on minimum, optimum, or maximum. So we have created the attitude of every single person in our club. We are living on maximum. We want to work on a high performance level. So going further, knowing what we want to achieve, we want to turn our talents into excellence. That means we want to create Michael Jordan of handball. Today his name is Matthias Itzel. We will start to analyze what do we have. So we have started to think like this. First we will always analyze, then we will do some planning, then we will do the stuff that we have planned in a way that we integrate them in the development of the player. Then we will check it, and then we will act if we are not satisfied with the results of the development. So what did we say? Okay, we have to structure the strength and conditioning training in a way that it doesn't last during the handball training. That's a huge sentence of Fadi Winterthur. We don't train strength and conditioning in the handball training. Never. we prepare our body for the handball training using some methods and parts of the strength and conditioning training, but strength and conditioning is a separate training. What do we do? What do we want with that one? We want to adapt also mind setting of a player that if you are able to improve your skills in every single puzzle piece of your puzzle, which is called Matthias Gitzel, or in my time, my idol was Cheon Kang, then you have to separate these sciences. Don't train everything at the same time. It develops average level. That's it. That's our idea. So what we do, we have found a partnership with a company which I own. So it was an easy case. I didn't have a concurrence. So I just decided to implement the stuff that I know from this part. And then we did it like this. Every single junior player of Adi Winterthur has strength and conditioning training starting from under 13, 15, 17, 19, National League B, and first team in a way that I will explain later. Why? I'm coming back to the first part of our strategy before bankruptcy. We want to create Matthias Gitzel on every single position. It doesn't matter if it's a goalkeeper or left wing. We want to create best possible handball player out of the sources that we have. And you have to know that like genetic potential of Swiss people when it comes to handball sport is pretty much limited. It's pretty much limited, in nice words. So what we said or asked ourselves, is there a perfect motion? And we can break down motion to every single element of handball sport. I will jump on the jump shot because that's maybe the easiest one to discuss about. And then we have asked ourselves, is it actually possible first to develop, then first to recognize, then to develop, and then to search for this perfect motion, whatever it is. So when it comes further, it starts to be a little bit more complex, or let's say more detailed. So we said, okay, when we are trying to develop this kind of players, we also need some kind of evidence-based informations in order to reach some goals. Then also, in a second way, we said all this evidence-based science should be led by people from this science. Coming back to the point which we are trying to implement in handball sport, divide handball training from strength and conditioning training. Then, when it comes to athlete education, and that's again the part of, let's say, ethical part of our strategy when it comes to development of the player, at the end of the day, our goal is that the player from Adi Winterthur reach the level of Champions League player, which means he won't probably play Champions League with Fadi, as long as we are small in the way that we are. So we want to create handball players for handball sport. All this kind of Matthias Gitzel from Fadi should play all over the world. Then, as I said, since we made this decision, we integrated to the whole system of the junior development. How do we actually do this part? So, when it comes to age of an athlete, then when it comes to a number of trainings that we can offer at our club, living the Swiss life, we have realized that under 13 age can only get a proper support in strength and conditioning training when it goes over the school sport. So we have cooperation with the schools from Winterthur and also with the city of Winterthur, who is also sponsoring this part and sending these guys to the strength and conditioning center, where they start to learn all these basic principles of how the human body should move. Then, as they get older, under 15, they will train once per week, 17 twice per week, 19, it's a critical age in Switzerland when it comes to just a regular life. Many of the players that we are losing when it comes to age of the players are somewhere around 19, or let's say between 19 and 21 when it comes to decision making. Do I want to earn 10,000 Swiss francs as a regular employee in a bank, or to play at my first team for 500 francs? It's a bit hard decision sometimes. So, since we are going direction first team, we will start to individualize the development of the single player. I will come to that one later as well. And then, since we said that we will separate the strength and conditioning training from the handball training, we had to create timetable during the week which fits to the school, regular life, and the handball training, and we have decided that all of these people are training strength and conditioning before the handball training on a junior level. Having this model defined in that way, we also realized that we have to cooperate with the handball trainer as well as a strength and conditioning experts. That means handball is developing in the way we have seen in the presentation before. Maybe in 2 years we won't play 7 against 6 anymore, maybe we'll have a shot clock. So we have to adapt our training principles and also training methods in order to make this Michael Jordan's Matthias Gitzel, and that's why we decided as a club to have organized meetings. Handball coaches meet ourselves, Stefan and I and all the other coaches in our club, let's say once a week or once a 10 days, every single coach together. So we are a team of 10 coaches discussing all this kind of stuff and giving this information further to our strength and conditioning partners. Then it goes even more into the detail. We try to reach this physical performance when it comes to demands of the high professional handball player. And then we come to the point, or we integrated this training method, which is called total body development, in a way that strength and conditioning training, in the way that we are doing it, looks like this. We will train the movement using the whole body, and we won't train on Monday strength, on Tuesday explosive strength, on Wednesday endurance, and on Thursday Monday, and on Friday Tuesday. We will always train the total human body, and then depending on the age of the athlete, we will regress and progress the exercises when it comes to prioritization of the movement pattern. So what kind of movement pattern every human being, it doesn't matter if he plays or she plays handball or not, should do. So we have movement throughout the hip joint. We have the movement when it comes to a relation of spine to our pelvis. Then we have all kind of movements in the ankle joint and so on. So we consider all these kind of movement patterns when it comes to creating total body training in every single strength and conditioning training. I will come to that one as well later. So, since we train the total body, we have also realized from the part of the methodology that we can also train all kind of intensities or loads in a way that every single training will have part of relaxation phase, activation phase when it comes to total body, mobility and stability. We will learn the movement quality. We will engage the nervous system stimulation as well. We will work on speed, coordination, cognition, and plyometrics. And then we will integrate them into the power and strength training, ending up the strength and conditioning training with development of energy system. I will come to that one as well later. So what we did. I will start with under 15, because under 13 guys are just learning the basic movement principles. So under 15 guys will get introduced with a training model. So what does it mean? I mean, obviously if we train handball, somewhere back then we have started to dribble, and then we learned to catch the ball, and then we learned to pass the ball, and the better ones started to practice their jump pass, and then led it to jump shot, and somewhere we also started to use technical skills when it comes to development of finds, and then we integrated all these kind of individual skills into some tactical decisions of the coach, and then it comes or becomes even more complex. So since we have started in handball to develop these technical skills, and you can go over your careers back then as a players, you can go over the players and girls and boys and players that you are working with, how many times you have experienced the development of some technical skill and said, yeah, but why you cannot do this one? So this guy in front of you had 11 surgeries. There is probably not even one single injury that I didn't have. And I started to investigate and do the researches on my own body in order to understand first why did it happen, second, what could I do better, and third, today I'm working with many different people from different sports. So if I get back to my young ages, coming back to the trainings where I did a lot of drills, like zavodi, dodaj, skoči, šutni, zato što ne možeš bolje šutneš, I have realized, watching my former videos, that I had a problem with the hip extension of the jumping leg, that I had a problem of the thoracic spine rotation, and my mobility of the left shoulder reduced the possibility to have a stronger shot. And I was working on all these inputs that I've heard from the coach. I just did what I had to, or what people said to me, but not even one single person in my whole career never worked on the development of the human body in the way that they prepare my body to move properly in order to integrate it in the technical needs of the handball sport. That's where we start with this under 15 players. So we learned them to use big joints in a way that they will be able to adapt it to technical training that they will do afterwards in the hall. Then when it comes to under 17, our under 17 team has at least 1 to 2 years, if they started earlier, also 3 to 4 years strength and conditioning training in our way behind themselves. So since we have learned to move properly, or at least managed to achieve some level of a proper movement pattern, then we can start to manipulate with load and intensity on these movement patterns. That's what we do starting from the age of under 17. I wrote it up here with the red one, I will adapt it. Foundation for individualization. So, learning process, when it comes to cognition, coordination, blah, 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 also starts in a group when everyone is doing the same training. Today, people start to individualize way too early, but actually, if I would train together with 7, doing the same squat, I won't only get the input from the coach that explains me how to do the squat, I will also watch his one and maybe recognize some benefits for myself. So we do, all the players are doing the same training. Then it goes further, when it comes to under 19 and the National League B team, we start even more to adapt this training because, guess what? We have players under 17, under 19 who are already playing for the first team because we don't have money to hire the more expensive ones. So when it comes to this phase of the career, we go even more direction individualization because all these kind of players have some biological and anatomical needs and development stages which we have to consider about it. Then it goes further. When we come to the first team, then we start to individualize. Then, this problem of short-term goals, which means we have to win or we have to whatever, goes in the direction that our players have to be able to increase their individual skills in a way that the output on the field, on the court, in my need of a handball coach of them, could be adapted to the technical needs that we need in our game. So that's the summary of age-based training goals when it comes to our generations in our team. So just to explain who is the one on the left side, the one on the right side is obviously Kirill Azarov. So this guy won 2 weeks ago silver medal on the World Championship in ice hockey. He's one of the best Swiss ice hockey players and also NHL talent and so on, blah, 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 blah. So this guy is now training actually the handball training. This was ironic again, handball training. He's just training his human body. And this guy with this kind of preparation of human body could also play handball if he would have technical skills when it comes to handball sport. So, what does it mean? Is it really achievable goal when it comes to discussion about the perfect motion? So, me as a former right back was dreaming about having the skill of jump shot from Kirill Lazarov. So this guy played until, I don't know, 40, 41, 42, and the efficiency of the jump shot of Kirill Lazarov is probably best ever in the history of handball when it comes to leftists who used to play the right back. And I was always wondering, okay, there are some genetical potentials, there is his mindset, blah, 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 all this kind of stuff he has anyhow, but there is something about the movement of his body which he obviously does in a perfect way, allowing him to play 20 years on the highest Champions League level. Knowing that one, knowing that we want to separate strength and conditioning training from the handball training, we realize that we have to train human body. So, I hope it will work now. When you start, or at least when I do that, to analyze the movement patterns that the guy on the left side did and try to find partial movement patterns in the jump shot of Kirill Lazarov, you will find them. I will come back to that one even more precisely. Let's talk about more perfect motion. So, now it goes a little bit direction science. So, key training factors for developing technical skills in sports, general, motor control and coordination, proprioception and sensory motor function, physical abilities, volume and repetition, feedback and correction, cognitive components, psychological factors, training specificity and context. So, what we said, okay, when it comes to the skills that we have to prepare in order to make perfect handball player, which would be able to do every single task that handball coach is giving in a technical way, we have to learn them to move properly, considering all these kind of factors which are crucial in the development of any kind of skill. So, what does it mean, even precisely? We have found out, and now you're talking with Goran, who is not a handball coach. Now you're listening to Goran, who is working with athletes from, I know, probably 30 different disciplines. And when it comes to I'm good enough, yes, I have made some world champions in different sports. I'm working with Olympic champions. I'm working with boys, girls, older, younger, all kind of sports. And for some reason, they are coming to some handball player, former handball player guy, to develop their strength and conditioning skills for the totally different sports when you compare them with us. So what did we learn, or what do we do? When it comes to training methodology, every single coach or a lot of coaches have developed their own models how they train the handball training. We don't have to discuss that one now. There are also many coaches developed their training methodology and training models when it comes to strength and conditioning training. And obviously, all of them won the medals and developed all kinds of perfect and world-class athletes. So what we do, it's not about valuation, it's only about what we do and how we do. We have realized that I prefer to do it like this. So, when it comes to training, it doesn't matter if it's a handball training or strength and conditioning training. I reduce myself to strength and conditioning. The people who are able to manipulate in a perfect way with the load and intensity, they are better coaches. So we know all these kind of comments like, yeah, my guys are overtrained. Yeah, my guys are undertrained. Yeah, my guys have always the same injuries. It's, I don't know, hamstring turn. I don't know, it doesn't matter which kind of injuries. We always hear this kind of stuff. And then obviously we had a problem with manipulation of load and intensity. So, thinking about and trying to understand what does it mean, we have realized that if we reduce the load to a total body, which is actually, kako se kaže videško? So we reduce the training to total body. It sounds actually, yeah, but it's total body, so it's more than part of the body. What we did, we said, okay, let's train movement. Let's decide to train the movement patterns, and then depending on sport needs, periodization, position in handball, blah, 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 try to manipulate with load and intensity. So when it comes to training, every single training in the gym, we will inhibit or relax some tissue of our body which is responsible for compensatory movement patterns. So the typical compensatory movement pattern of myself is that my head is forward, that I am round back, and that I have legs like this. So recognizing this kind of problems in the movement patterns, we already start to think about following stuff. If I'm a handball player with a head here, with a flexed thoracic spine, I will never be able to do proper external rotation of my shoulder joint, which will reduce the quality of my pass shot, me as a player at the end of the day. So, trying to stay with this example, if I create a training model which will extend this thoracic spine to the neutral position, which will allow me to have this much external rotation, it will help me probably to produce a better shot or a better pass. Giving the player with improved basic movement of a human body to a handball coach, we handball coaches will be able to develop technical skills which we want to use in some specific tactical situations. I would say it's a logical way. So, since we have relaxed these muscles and tissues, which we actually use, let's say, 20 other hours of our daily living, if we train 4 hours per day, we will start to activate our body in a global way, where we start to work on the movement patterns in the basic matter, not manipulating a lot with load and intensity. So we relax, we activate it, and then we go further. Every single person in this room, I'm watching with my eyes like I would be an MRI or Röntgen or whatever. All of you. All of you are sitting now for some reason in some way. And maybe I know why. Huge arrogant sentence that I said now. So, analyzing all these movement patterns that every single person here has, we will adapt this part of the training in individual ways. So we will work, in my case, probably more on hip internal rotation of the right hip, and maybe in his way on external rotation of the right shoulder joint. It's another science. So, we activated the total body, we considered the individual problems of individual body, and then, čujete mi bez ovog. And then, in the next part of the training, we will start to do the stuff that we do with our under 9 or under 7 or under 10 or under 11 players. We will learn the basic movement quality which are the goals for the specific training. So if I'm training under 9 guys and I'm learning them to pass the ball, I will focus my coaching on the technical skill of this pass. Everyone did it once in his career, at least as a player. So here we will focus our training on the quality of movement pattern that we are going to load here. So since we have prepared our locomotorni apparat, we have to turn on one very important part of our body, and that's this one. We have to integrate our nervous system. So there is no maximum output of speed, explosive strength, and power without maximalna voljna brzina, maximum velocity created by neural input from your neck to your muscles. So since we prepare the body, turned on the brain, in the part in between, we will manipulate with the most important part of our sport, speed and agility. Finishing this part of the training, we will start to prepare ourselves, our bodies, to a development of maximum strength. So what we are going to do, we will train plyometrics. We will load plyometrics, which means we will do the power training. Then we will decide which main lift or main movement pattern we are going to train in our strength part of the training. And in that part of the training, we will start to combine again, coming back here. It depends on which individual problem some person has when it comes to main lifts. We will integrate individual movement pattern needs, but also, depending on season, age, blah, 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 we will discuss load and intensity. So sometimes maybe we will, when it comes to development of explosive strength after our back squat, integrate some plyometric jumps after the strength part or as a part of the strength part. So we will have the exercise 1, back squat, exercise 2, hurdle jump, and then exercise 3, which is actually relaxation of the body, but still working aerobic capacity. We will work on his shoulder because we know that he has a problem with that one. Then maybe, depending on age, depending on need, depending on the goal of the training, we will add on 1 second main lift. And then it comes or becomes even more interesting. We have to consider some agonist-antagonist movement patterns when it comes to main lifts. So if I would train some back squat, which is obviously knee dominant vertical press, I will probably decide to use as a second main lift some horizontal pull, mainly based on the strength of the upper body. And in that way we will integrate different movement patterns, still training the total body, using all kind of different load possibilities in order to develop our total body. At the end of the training, we will develop or work on our anaerobic, level, let's say. Good. So that means concretely that this kid here, which is 17 on this video, is doing probably the most, or one of the most, if we would add overhead extension, one of the most complex exercises when it comes to power. So many of the coaches from strength and conditioning field would say, hey, actually that's one of the basic movement patterns in the handball, so you will have your feet more or less on the width of your hips when it comes to the find, when it comes to the jump shot, when it comes to defending and so on. So yes, obviously, we can transfer this movement pattern into handball, but if this body doesn't work on the maximum capacity needed to perform on the highest level, the basic theory of So, no matter what we do in our life, we have some potential, which is from 0 to 100%. So, if I could manipulate with the human body when it comes to movement and strength and conditioning part, that the player at the age of 17, he is using 70% of the capacity of his needs when it comes to specific sport, he will for sure be able to do the tasks that we coaches in handball are giving him when it comes to technical ability. That's how it works. It's a simple math. It's not that complicated. So this kid started to prepare his body already as an under 13 to work with a high load when it comes to one complex exercise like clean. Then, okay, that's too small. Okay, so I try from here. I took these two guys, some of you can recognize them, and I have tried to think about biomechanical analysis of the jump shot when it comes to major joints. So, this guy we don't have to comment, this guy as well. So watching this kind of body positioning, I will ask myself, is this the perfect motion? So I'm imagining Itzel and Weber at the age of 9. What did they do? How did they avoid to develop way more worse compensatory movement patterns? So if you would make a photo of myself doing jump shot, it would probably look like this. My left knee always went open. I never had enough strength to extend my hip. Because of my thoracic spine flexion, I was never able to open up the arm. And since I don't have enough strength in my right leg, I couldn't jump high, which didn't allow me to have this position of my arm, which is crucial for the development of the force when it comes to throwing. So, if you try to combine or analyze or compare some different sports, if we think about javelin, I've never seen Jan Železny throwing like this. And I definitely saw him throwing like this. So if you go over the junior handball players all over the world, there is some stupid social media app called Instagram or whatever. You will see 1 billion of trainings, junior players training handball, passing and shooting like this. Brani se od odbrambenog igrača. Maybe it makes sense. Since I know this shit and this stuff, I would say to every coach that learns someone to play pass like this, you are working here. You're limiting the potential of your player. If you want to do it, that's your decision. I will never do it. Then we go further. Look at these two guys here. We are still discussing perfect motion. National team player under 15, national team player under 17 Switzerland. So, you can help me now, na srpskom, kako god. What kind of differences we see in this photo? So, I have tried, I had videos, we work with videos a lot, analyzing the technical skills, using them to develop strength and conditioning skills, improving the quality of movement patterns. So, let's try to watch like this. This heel here and this heel here are more or less at the same moment of pre-jumping phase. You just have to believe me, it's true, it's like this. So, something like this. So what kind of differences we see here? You see them exactly the same like I do. This knee is extended, this ankle joint is extended, this ankle joint is more flexed, and this knee is more flexed. Then it goes further. This hip is extended even way more than this one. So the limitation of extension of this hip, limitation of extension of this hip, force this guy to, and then it goes even further, to use more tibialis anterior when it comes to knee extension, because he cannot lift his knee in a proper way in order to produce more force when it comes to jump shot. Then it goes even further. This core here is, since this hip is extended, way more stable than this one. So not having enough stable core, this guy won't be able to lift his right shoulder in a proper way. So if you analyze even more this right picture here, you will see that this right shoulder is here. So in his brain, his coordination and movement patterns force him to say, fuck, my ass is too weak, jump with your shoulder. Yes, he can jump with his right shoulder. He is extending his knee, ankle, and hip throughout his shoulder. You just have to believe it. So, this limitation we fix in the strength and conditioning training, and not doing strength and conditioning in the handball training. I would always sign this guy, not this guy. When it comes to movement pattern, all the other way more important stuff like attitude, obviously I don't consider that. So when it comes to training, this is how one training would look like. It's too small. Under 15, we'll do the same exercises in the first part of training, which we call inhibition, or in easier word, relaxation, because the daily movement patterns that limit our living are all the same at all ages. It doesn't matter how old we are. If you go even further, people here who have kids, the best deep squat that you have ever seen was your kid at the age of 1 or 2 or 3. And I'm pretty much sure in this room there is not even one single person who can do a deep squat. And no one here is 100 years old, which is actually ridiculous. Then in the activation, we will do some regressions and progressions on the basic exercises, considering the age, considering the knowledge of training concept or the model, and also considering what do we want to create in the development phase of some age. And then I'm coming to the last one. What do we do? We always have in our mind strategic considerations, which means we always analyze, plan, do, check, and act, done by coaches, paid by club, done by coaches, tested by diagnostics and medicine. Results will lead to the same plan, or we will do a new analysis. So, since we did these strategic considerations, we will start to develop our athletes. We will never forget the age-based training. And we will use always the same athletic training model for every single age. The first guy, this guy, the first one to jump. This guy. I will finish with this story. Some of you maybe know him. His name is Noam Leopold. He is playing for Nantes. He will play Champions League Final 4 next week. We have signed this guy at the age of 19 from the second division club in Switzerland. and in our countries it's all about money. We have signed him for 100 francs per month. So he was earning 100 francs per month. I'm allowed to say it. I asked him. What is even more funny about these 100 francs, he lives, or used to live 60 kilometers away from Winterthur, which means paying his train ticket daily, he would spend his 100 francs. So what did we say to him? Look, at least one we don't have money. So on that one we don't have to negotiate. What we have infrastructure, we have connection to the science, we have some crazy guys working 24 hours a day in a handball, and we won't give you not even one single limitation when it comes to reaching your goals. Just for you to consider his development. He scored, season before he went to Nantes, 407 goals in a season. He played every single game 60 minutes. And his game preparation looked like this. His main lift, 3 hours before the game, was 180 kilos back squat. And so on. So what I'm trying to say, this one, don't do it. It's a bullshit. At the end of the day, handball game will be won by attitude, by emotional state, by winning mentality. But if you want to, or you have possibility to work like we do in Winterthur, these kind of guys everyone has them. Some of you guys, which were my idols as well, were these kind of players. At least one. But it's not about the guys who reach this level, this group as well. When you develop a club, it's all about average players. It's all about average players. So if we can create some training models which our average player will move from 40% to 60% of his maximum potential, these guys won't have limits and will be able to go from some very, very small Swiss handball club to Champions League team, finding his place next to a player like Valero Rivera, and playing in the same year after he moved from bad league Switzerland, Champions League Final Four. Boom. I hope it wasn't that much for you. And if you for some reason have some questions, slowly pitajte. Ako ne, večer.
Let's see.
Jel bi još neki Leopold osim ovoga?
Da li je bio još neki Leopold osim ovoga? If we created any other Leopolds? So, we train since 6 years like this. 6 godina treniramo ovako, jer od tada imamo novu hlavu i sve. Uspeli smo da ukrademo jedno dete tako što je neko seo u auto i odvezao se u Banja Luku i doveo to dete u Winterthur. Ono se zove Ivan Simić, igra pivotmena. Imamo trenutno 4 igrača koji su sigurno iznad ovoga, a generacija su 6 i 7, 06 i 07. I mi očekujemo, bar po kontaktima sa klubovima koji su već zainteresovani za njih, da su to sledeći. A onda posle njih idu ova dvojica koji su 08, 09 itd. Tako da, iz nekog razloga neki klubovi prepoznaju da imamo i takve igrače. Hvala.
Gdje je
Još jednom da se zahvalim naravno Goranu njegove prezentacije. I would just would like to thank Goran once again for his presentation. Okay, you're just warming up, još uvijek se zagrevate, ali najveća vrednost svih ovih seminara je u suštini razmena vaših iskustva. So the biggest value of those seminars is actually what we are used to here when we are having our master course seminar, is the exchange of your experience. Once again, thank you, još jedan put hvala.